What's happening, y'all? Probably help if the mic wasn't muted. But so I'm just straight rocking the mic. You've never seen a streamer straight rock the mic like this, ice cold with it. I gotta. The cable is really coiled, so give me a sec. What up? What up, Kuma? How you feeling tonight, Kuma? Been rough. We could talk later if you want. I'll probably be up for a bit after I finish streaming. Yet it's only 10:15. Ashli Babbitt is trending on Twitter again, so I had to. Thank you, TRSHJRO. But yeah, Ashli Babbitt's trending on Twitter again, so. Damn, it's an ashy knuckle. I was looking at myself on the damn. Look how ashy my knuckle is. Damn. That was not as bad. What did I do with this knuckle? Why is that shit so ashy? How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody feeling? Yeah, that's funny. That's funny, TRSHJRO. What up, Justin? How you feeling? I'm straight. I'm just straight rocking the mic tonight. What up, Xavier? What up, Scabby? I'm doing alright. I'm chilling. I just got off work. I'm doing my post career, post job ritual. I appreciate you, Jenna. I was gonna say it's been a little while since I've seen you. I hit you hit the new milestone. What milestone did you hit, Jerson? What up, Xavier? Always good to see you too. Kids asleep. Word. You lost 80 pounds. Congratulations. Damn. That's what's up. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight myself. Not having much success because I keep gaining weight and muscle. What up, Yarameshi? How you feeling? What if I started doing kind of this like format? Would this be tight? What if I like stood up? I'm still sitting down right now, but I've just been thinking about just like kind of switching it up a little bit. You would just kind of see me pacing and shit. Might do it that way just so I feel more comfortable doing stand up. You keep eating ice cream? That's crazy. I don't know why I'm not too huge on ice cream. I'm low key lactose intolerant, and also I worked at an ice cream shop, so that's probably why I don't really like ice cream that much. You going through some stuff? I'm sorry to hear that, Jenna. I hope you come out of it all right, though. I'm doing okay. I've been having kind of a third life crisis. More of comedy feel to it, yeah. I have a lapel mic too. I have like a straight up lavalier mic. I just can't remember what I did. Oh, there it is. So I could, if I really wanted to, if I really super wanted to, what might be interesting is like I use the lav mic and then I just use this mic, like that my SM58. Just use that for like game chat and like PC, like the microphone for my PC. Lactose free. I kind of like Silk. Silk's pretty nice. I like that. I'm into it. Almond milk is better though. I really like almond milk. It's expensive though. Light ice cream is a scam. Yeah, I know it's a scam. It's also fucking disgusting. So, like I was saying, Ashli Babbitt is trending on Twitter. Let's take a look. Hold the mic like I'm doing a grind show, like I'm doing vocals at a death metal show. You can, I guess, you can also make almond milk too. Just want to do death metal vocals real quick since I'm in the position already. You know what I'm saying. Plain milk is gross. Yeah, I don't know how I was about that shit either. I used to just straight up get myself just like a giant fucking like fucking like pint of just straight up milk and fucking just dump hella Hershey syrup in that shit. Hit it with the fucking tablespoon. Get the that's what prepared me for cooking crack. The dark net didn't actually prepare me for cooking crack. Making a Hershey's syrup chocolate milk is what prepared me for cooking crack. The Frank Mullen chops, thank you. I feel like I'm gonna do inhales real quick just because you see the infinite azure. You see the infinite azure behind me. So I feel like if I do just like that's that I'm in wormed. I got the wormed vibes happening now, you know what I mean? The origin vibes. yeah. I'm sorry, Jenna. Yeah, milk is gross. We used to keep milk. I basically drank milk. I had milk with cereal, and I had milk like I'd make chocolate milk, like I was just saying. Milk and pickles. Wild. The wildest thing I've ever done with milk like that was when I broke edge and I first started drinking. We were just drinking whatever with whatever. I drank Jack Daniels and chased it with whole milk. Disgorged womb full of scabs vibes. Damn. Appreciate you. Thank you for the like, OCAT. I don't know. I feel like the background gives it like this isn't. You know what I'm saying? The background I got right now is the infinite is your. It gives me the spacey. You know what I'm saying? The space grind, the brutal. It's still brutal death. You know what I'm saying? It's still brutal as fuck, but it's more of like the heady brutals. Jack Daniels and milk is heinous. I kinda like I've been going strong. I'm coming up on year number 3 with not getting drunk and like not really drinking alcohol. But I'm curious. I would do that just to see cuz I mean, if you think about it, like it's at first when you first think about it, it sounds gross, but people drink like fucking like milk stouts and like coffee milk stouts and gross ass shit like that. I feel like beer and milk would be way more gross than Jack and milk. Blood incantation look to it. You know what's crazy is like people hate on blood incantation, people love blood incantation. I legit don't know what they sound like. I went to see them at that show at 16th Street House in DC back in what was that? It's probably like 2015, 2016 maybe. Um and that it was a fucking amazing show and I bought that CD and that specific CD is good. Uh I don't know which what I can't remember what it's called, but it's got vitrification of blood on it. It's like the black and red one. And I legit just like stopped paying attention to them after that. I'm not even gonna front. No disrespect, no hate. I legit don't have enough I'm gripping the mic, dog. I'm legit just straight handling the mic. Just rocking the mic. Beer milkshake, yeah. That sounds still pretty gross. Their latest release was good. Word. I just, I haven't. I don't know. I don't really listen. I have like new stuff that comes out, like new metal, is not really super interesting to me. I haven't really listened to any. The only like I peeped the new Deranged. I think the new Deranged was pretty cool. It wasn't like the old Deranged, so I don't like it as much, but it was different, but in a good way. Not better, but and I still would love to have that old sound, but um um it was interesting. The new Internal Suffering was pretty cool. I thought I liked the new Internal Suffering. That was definitely a different vibe. Um, what else came out? I guess there was new Cenotaph apparently that came out. The new Defleshed was low key kind of disappointing. Um, I wanted when I heard there was new Defleshed, I wanted more basically anything but Reclaim the Beat vibes, and it sounded like just more Reclaim the Beat, which wasn't bad. Like Reclaim the Beat wasn't bad at all, but I want more of that fast forward, those types of those riffs. What's up, Vulcan? I peep the beats you send me sometimes, Justin. I don't also since because of what my job is now, I also don't listen to music as much anymore because I can't hear it. New Cannibal Corpse was decent. Rutan replacing O'Brien was not good decision writing music wise. See, and I thought about that. Like say what you want about Pat O'Brien, the dude is a fucking phenomenal guitarist. Like, he fucking shreds. That man is a fucking monster. And it translates so well to his brutality of like rhythm riffs that he writes. And I feel like Eric Rutan, while he is a phenomenal guitarist in his own right, he's an innovator and foundational guitarist within the genre of death metal. I feel like classically, he's not like I don't feel like he shreds the same way that Pat O'Brien shreds, and it's gonna give his riffage a different vibe because of it. Not a worse vibe, just a more caveman throwback fucking which is honestly low key more Cannibal Corpse vibes. It's like throwback Cannibal Corpse. Eric Rutan might be the guy that is most qualified, one of the most qualified men to, if like Paul and Alex came to him like, yo, we want to write some more shit that's like, like fucking Eaten Back to Life or like Tomb. I feel like he would be the guy that'd be like, okay, bet, I got you, and he'd be able to accomplish that. Technical death metal god O'Brien. What other bands was Pat O'Brien in? I know he was in Nevermore. I don't remember. I don't know what other bands Pat O'Brien was in, but I fucked with both Hate Eternal and of course Ripping Corpse heavy, like super heavy. Eric Rutan also did some of the production, or he produced. What was it? Kill. Yeah, I know at least that one. I don't know how many more other ones he did, but he did that one at least. Does my voice sound alright? By the way, is this silly? Should I stop doing this? Is this annoying to y'all? Is this making my voice sound weird, or is this cool for me to do? Because I'm kind of just vibing right now. Fill in spots for bands like session work. That makes sense. As long as I don't bump anything with the mic, but it's like being on stage. So there was some stuff I wanted to talk about. Hold on. I gotta consult the book. Let me put the mic back on the. He was a monstrosity? Oh, word. That makes sense. He is from Florida. Did Cannibal Corpse move to Florida low key? I don't know. Anyway, alright. I got some news for y'all. Enough lollygagging. Enough messing. Pat O'Brien's originally from Kentucky. Country boy. Explains a lot about him. Alright. Let me aggregate this news for you guys. Whoops. I'll do both of those because speaking of Kentucky, we're going to get back to Kentucky. Yeah, I know Cannibal Corpse was originally from New York, but Pat I think lives in Florida now. Eric Rutan is from and lives. His studio is in Florida. Um, I know those dudes like Florida. I think Alex Webster lives in Florida now. Oh yeah, I'm like looking all over my screen. It's like not on the screen, dummy. It's on the paper. You wrote it with your hands, with your meat mitts, in the meat world. Okay, so how do I do this? All right, let's see. I want to talk to you guys about Tuskegee as well. I suppose now would be as good a time as ever to. Hang on. Man is in Florida? Yeah, for sure. $10 ago. Sheesh. Um, how long is this? Let's see. 45 minutes. I'm not going to make you guys sit all the way through all of this. Hang on. I'm trying to. That's an hour and a half. Sheesh. I'm trying to find. This is difficult because I'm trying to find something recent. Let's see. Sort by upload date. I'm just curious about this. We're gonna watch this together. This is interesting to me. I'm wondering this author's. Oh, this is from Harvard.
My work lies squarely at the intersection of health and human rights because there are so many questions and problems in research design and research policies that I feel have gotten insufficient attention from the perspective of laypersons. I think it's critically important to inform laypersons of developments that have not been well publicized, where there's been very little transparency that directly affect their decision whether to participate in research and also you know, um, affect directly their access to healthcare. My most recent book, Carte Blanche, deals with the erosion of informed consent, which is happening in an escalating manner and utterly without transparency in this country.
Wild.
I don't think my work has changed so much as a lot of topics that I've always seen as interconnected have coalesced during the pandemic. It's now clearer to most of us that there are things that are closely connected that we are not in the habit of looking at as being connected. I think the more salient example is the medical fate of people of color during this pandemic. It actually is following a predictable pattern, but a pattern that seems to have caught the healthcare system in this country off guard, which it shouldn't have. So I linked together the erosion of human rights in medical research, the resulting distrust among enclaves of people of color, increase in violence, which by psychological studies have shown is related to xenophobia engendered by stranger infections, and a host of other elements, including research issues in the developing world, where a lack of oversight has permitted a great deal of offenses and crimes against people of the developing world. But these crimes are often rationalized by arguments that I see being applied in this country now. So it really has not changed my work, but it has focused it and has, I think, made a lot of these connections apparent that weren't apparent before.
Wild.
Our healthcare system is an untrustworthy one, unfortunately, and we have amply documented already many ways in which people of color tend to bear the brunt of that untrustworthiness. In some areas, we need additional studies, I think, to refine and pinpoint the issue. In other areas, we've already amply documented the problem. It's time to look at changing the policies that are perpetuating these healthcare disparities. For example, we often talk about additional education and training, but I'm not sure that that's not sufficient, frankly. We look at, for example, pain studies, which have been showing consistently that African Americans tend to have their pain undertreated and to be dismissed as drug seeking. So we know this. And yet the response is often more education, more training, more care around implicit bias. I think it's time for us to look at penalties that both reward and punish healthcare providers and healthcare systems that are not able to practice medicine in an acceptable way. If your institution or if you personally cannot document that you are treating your patients equally despite race, there need to be penalties for that, penalties that mean something to the people and to the institutions that are perpetrating it. It's a quality control issue as well as an ethical issue. So I think that healthcare providers who are not able to do that should not be allowed to finish their residency program, should not be allowed to advance in the system. Institutions that can't do that should have greater oversight of their IRBs, should be barred from certain types of government grants. We need to institute meaningful penalties as well as rewards for doing the right thing. We're talking about simple good practice here. We're not talking about offering some kind of exotic, novel type level of healthcare. We're just talking about treating everyone the same. So I think we need to look at these policies and change them and change the way we see them from increasing education to increasing accountability. It's important to realize too that a lot of the things we pinpointed, like in the pain studies, it's not that we have textbooks saying that African Americans don't feel pain the way whites do. And I hope no one is lecturing their students that. They're learning on the clinical floors. When they go to the clinical floors and they see that African Americans are consistently dismissed as being drug seeking rather than having their pain addressed, that's where we have to address the policies that are going to change this.
Damn. That was wild. Thought she was going to talk about the vaccine. Everything from her on YouTube is like an hour, 2 hours, 90 minutes, 3 hours. Like, there's nothing I can really just show you guys, unfortunately. Anyway, let me make sure. Okay, cool. I say all that to say this. Um, there's a new variant. A new variant has been detected in a Kentucky nursing home, infecting 45 residents and healthcare personnel. Many of these infections arose in fully vaccinated individuals. The variant, which originated in Japan, has over 10,000 entries in the GISAID SARS-CoV-2 database. The variant contains 5 mutations previously noted in variants of concern or interest, 2 of which are in the spike protein. It also contains many unique mutations. Here we describe the potential effects of each mutation on replication, immune evasion, and pathogenesis. I don't understand any of this shit. I'm not going to pretend to. I don't think you guys would understand any of it, even if I read it. So, yeah. So, yeah, new variant just dropped. Tight. Also, severe COVID-19 may trigger autoimmune conditions, and new variants cause more virus in the air. So that's fun. Severe COVID-19 may trick the immune system into producing so-called autoantibodies that have the potential to eventually attack healthy tissue and cause inflammatory diseases, researchers warned in a paper published in Nature Communications. So this isn't like they haven't observed this or anything. I guess this is just and yeah, we all knew this, but the new variants are more contagious because they proliferate in the air more densely. And just to end out the news, because this is the last bit of news I got, we got Instagrammers, I guess, who are staying in a hotel that are. It's a prison that got converted into a luxury hotel, which is wild to me that that's something that could exist. Converted to an influencer hotel. Wild. That's so crazy. New gentrification dropped. Yeah. Your faith in humanity plummets just that much more. Can I also ask you guys something? It's kind of weird. What's with the I don't know how to the contour? I don't know. I'm gonna feel silly. I feel silly. Anyway, that's it. The Panopticon. God damn, you're an Instagram influencer in a prison that's been converted to a luxury hotel, and you're literally willingly documenting all of it on camera with a device that's also tracking your GPS position at all times. It's listening to you at all times. It's just, we live in a wild world. I tell you that. We live in a very wild world. Let's get married at a former plantation house. That's the wildest shit too. That's always so wild. Like the farm and like plantation house wedding and marriage photos was always giving me like, secret Klansmen. But then when those, what was it, that those people that did their wedding photos where it was like the dude was a slave or some shit like that, that was just like, that was the only logical conclusion to all that fucking goofy shit. America is such a wild fucking country. It's crazy that we think that we live, because we have smartphones and shit. We think we live in the future, but the people around us are fucking stupid, dude. Like, there's people alive who think that black people have smaller skulls than white people, and that's why they're inferior. Also, Ashli Babbitt deserved to get shot. I I titled the stream that because that would be the tweet that announced the stream, and Ashli Babbitt happened to be trending on Twitter, so I tweeted that Ashli Babbitt deserved to get smoked because she did. It's Babbitt season. Babbitt season. Yo, why do I keep seeing Gabby Petito shit? Like, I know why. I'm just rather okay. Let me back up. Let me start over again. I am tired of seeing Gabby Petito shit. It sucks. I'm sorry. I feel bad, but people go missing every fucking day. The police will literally kill me tomorrow, and it'll be in and out of the news cycle. They won't even make national news. It's because she had clout already as a TikToker. I guess that makes sense. How many TikTok? Well, I'm looking at this screenshot of her TikTok right here. That's just in the news, like headline or whatever. And her TikToks had like, this one I'm looking at right now has 1 million views. That's pretty nuts. She was on that van lifer shit. That's wild. I was actually just thinking about that today on the lift. Like, I fucking did the beg, borrow, and steal my way through life shit in my 20s. It was fun. It was cool. It was an experience. I have lots of stories that I can tell and share with you all. But I'm trying to get the bag in my 30s. I'm not trying to live in a fucking van. You feel me? It's half she's a pretty blonde white girl, half she already had clout. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense, honestly. Jazz break. Wine moms who fuck with true crime stories, love stories like this. Yeah, that's also true. Fucking um I remember when that Chris Watts shit popped off. That shit was wild. Motherfucker killed both of his daughters and his wife and fucking stuffed them in an oil drum and left them motherfuckers in the middle of the desert or some shit like that. That was nuts. That dude was wild for that. That's some horrific shit. Oh, so yeah, I got my printer, my new 3D printer. If you guys want me to show you it, I can show you it. If you'd like to be shown it, would you like to? It's like I can't show you the printer because it's still in the box. I'm gonna do an unboxing video this weekend. I can show you the resin though. I took the resin out of the boxes just because I want to see what they look like. Hang on. Most lit chair stream. The most lit chair stream of all time. All right, so here's the deal. I'm glad that shit didn't bust when I dropped it. That's the clear too. So here's what I got. The main one I got was this Anycubic. Oh, I guess it's gonna mess with the green screen, but it's just gray resin. Basically the same colors as on the bottle. So you can kind of see that. So I got resin that's that color. So basically, things that I print with that will be completely solid, all that just gray color. Then I got some of their eco resin that is apparently supposed to be made with plant materials, have a little bit less fumes in the process of making your prints. But I got this clear resin that will print things completely transparent. And the clear green in the it's gonna mess with the green screen because it's green, obviously. I'm silly, but anyway, yeah, it's like a transparent, it's like a translucent green, like a perfect, like emerald green, like see-through green, like whatever you print with that will be see-through green. So those are the resins I got. that are the basic resins that come that the company that makes the printer makes. So I know at the very least those will make the best prints, and I won't have to worry about those resins too much. I got these other two resins just to see what they would be like. And they actually expire, and these expire in less than a year. So that's interesting. Um but I got red, see-through red, and see-through purple. So things I print with these will be see-through red and see-through purple. Now, the other thing that I've noticed is now it's not prohibitively expensive. Um, wow, yeah, these resins, these here, the see-through red and see-through purple actually expire in less than 5 months. So I guess I should use these. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Um, the resin's not prohibitively expensive, but it is significantly more expensive than the FDM printer, like filament, like a spool of filament. A spool of filament is like $20. It's not. I've never spent more than $20 for a spool of filament, but this resin easily like $35-$40 for this big bottle is like $35. I don't know how many prints it's going to produce compared to the $20 roll of filament, but we'll see. I also am interested in getting into casting, like making jewelry making with 3D printing, but we'll see how that goes. Frankie Palmieri, what happened? What's up, man? How you doing? Bonk. Yeah. As soon as I read that shit, he was already banned. He was already banned. Wild how you move. It's a wild how I move like that. Oh, that's funny. uh, that's funny. Spidey senses were going wild. As soon as he came in here and was like, I got the worst news from my doctor, I was like, here we go, dude. This motherfucker's gonna come in here saying something extra wacky for no reason. He probably came back too. You were sitting here like, go ahead and say your little message so I can bait you. Facts. Oh man. Uh, let's see what else is in the news. I'm gonna watch. Let's watch the news. Damn it! It's all fucking Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. Yeah, I'm looking at shit from like 10 months ago. Come on now. COVID-19 news. Why is okay? There's not just like I have to actually. I don't want to do it this way though. You banned him so swiftly you didn't see his message pop up on my screen. True, I didn't notice that till you just said that. Like I saw it in the slobs chat, but I didn't see it. Like I wasn't looking at it on like in my display. This looks cool. Let's check this out.
Making big decisions can be hard. Even after considering all the options, doing research, and selecting what you think is the best solution, there's always a fear that you chose wrong. To lessen that fear, a lot of us seek out advice from friends or even strangers on the internet in the belief that two, or better yet, many minds are better than just one. This kind of decision-making is a lot like having a hive mind, where a large number of individuals share their knowledge with each other, which produces a collective intelligence. This often leads to smarter decision-making among groups that is better than what one individual could accomplish alone. While often used in science fiction stories, hive minds actually do exist in real life. There are lots of great examples of this in nature, but one stands out. And it comes from the animal that inspired the phrase hive mind in the first place: bees.
Young bees.
These insects use nest-based communication to give their
Hell
fellow
yeah.
bees important information and collectively make robust decisions. But their methods of communication aren't what you might expect. They communicate via dance, and their dances can communicate to their peers the direction, distance, and quality of food sources, the location of possible new hive sites, and sources of nearby danger.
I didn't even know
most
that.
Surprisingly, they can even use
What
their
up,
language
Lucky
to
SOB?
hold democratic debates. This type of collective behavior is so powerful, and the connection between the bees is so profound that scientists are beginning to understand that a bee colony acts a lot like a single organism. In fact, a lot like a human brain. And studying how these remarkable creatures interact could reveal answers about how our own minds make decisions. Although only about 10% of bee species are social, honeybees are very social indeed. Apis mellifera, or the western honeybee, is the most common of the 12 or
One man said, I was waiting for that dude to send his goofy ass message like that agent waiting for Ashli Babbitt to come through the window. Oh, shit.
so honeybee species. They create large colonies with a single fertile queen, many non-reproductive female workers, and a small number of fertile males. Individual colonies can house tens of thousands of bees, and all of the activity carried out by these bees is organized by complex communication between individuals. In the early 1900s, scientists believed that bees might communicate the presence of nearby food sources through scent, the fragrance of the flower adhering to the bee's bodies and alerting its peers of its nearby presence. By this theory, the other bees should simply search in an ever-expanding circle until they discover the flowers with the memorized fragrance. But in 1944, Karl von Frisch, a professor at the University of Munich, made a discovery that turned this assumption on its head. A discovery that would eventually win him the Nobel Prize. Von Frisch noticed that after observing the returning scout bee, The other worker bees did not search for flowers with a matching scent everywhere around the hive, but only in the precise vicinity of where the foraging bee had been, even if that bee had been very far away. Somehow, the exact location of the food source was being communicated by the bees. When von Frisch observed his bees more closely, he discovered that bees are constantly waggling, running, and turning in circles inside the hive. He then realized that this performance is a miniature reenactment of the bees' recent flight outside the hive,
Showdown,
indicating the location of the food source it just visited. Von Frisch had just discovered communication via dance. And with it, foragers can share information about the direction and distance to the patches of flowers full of nectar and pollen with other members of the colony. Their dance is called the waggle dance, and its main feature is the waggle run, where they waggle back and forth while running in a straight line. The duration of the run tells the other bees how far the resource is, where 1 second is equal to about 1,000 meters. And the angle of their run, relative to a straight vertical line, tells the other bees the angle of the outward journey in relation to the sun.
Fuck wasps, yeah. I fuck with bees though. Brian Ben had bees.
To the right of the vertical line, the food source is 45 degrees to the right of the position of the sun. In addition to dancing, the bee also gives out some of the flowers.
Let me run that back so I can.
Which vertical line about 1,000 meters, and the angle of their run, relative to a straight vertical line, tells the other bees the angle of the outward journey in relation to the sun. For example, if the dancing bee walks 45 degrees to the right of the vertical line, the food source is 45 degrees to the right of the position of the sun. In addition to dancing, the bee also gives out some of the flower's nectar to its audience, which, combined with the smell of the flower still lingering on the dancing bee, helps the recruits locate the food source. They communicate other things through dance as well. For instance, a tremble dance, where they rock forward and backward and side to side, tells others that the foragers have brought back so much nectar that more bees are needed to process it into honey. But not every bee conversation is about food sources, and not every piece of communication is a one-way street.
They be chit-chatting,
communicating something to the rest. Bees can use these same communication methods to discuss options about the future of the hive, and then make decisions democratically. A type of collective behavior very rarely seen in the animal kingdom.
Damn, they be doing shit democratically. We got the communist bees.
In late spring or early summer, honeybee colonies become overcrowded in their nesting cavities. When this happens, it's time for them to find a new home. 1/3 of the worker bees stay put and rear a new queen, and 2/3 of the workers, along with the original queen, begin the search for a new nest site. The quest starts with the swarm congregating on a temporary site, a branch or a bush outside the old hive. From here, scouts will go out and look for suitable nest sites,
fuckload of
a
bees,
hollowed-out tree, or an abandoned chimney or birdhouse. The bees are looking for a place that will be protected from weather, predators, and is big enough
I'd
for
be
the
scared,
new hive.
Fade. I don't like
Size
bees
is
near me
perhaps
like
the most
that.
important, since any
It's
colony
thicker than the
occupying a
branch it's
hollow
on.
10 liters or
Sheesh.
smaller can't store enough honey to make it through the winter. Once a bee finds a location that it likes, it comes back to the group and does the waggle dance, telling the others where the potential nest site is. Other bees then go check it out for themselves. If these recruits like it, they'll come back and do the same dance in the same direction. But it's not always so clear which potential nest site is the best choice. And this is where a vigorous debate begins. Here's an example of how these debates typically go down, taken from one of the first studies about bee debates.
Yo, what up, Squid Punk? Thanks for the raid.
On the first day, 2 nest scout bees were identified and labeled. One bee reported a nest site candidate 1,500 meters to the north, while the other bee reported another site 300 meters to the southeast. The next day, 11 new dancers were identified. 3 danced in support of the site 1,500 meters to the north.
That's all
2
good,
danced
Squid
in
Punk.
support of the
Thanks
site
for the raid. I
300
appreciate
meters to
you.
the southeast, and 6 others danced about new sites altogether. The next day, it rained, and only 2 new dancers were recorded. One supported the site to the north, and the other reported a
That's
new
tough,
site
lucky
400
SOB.
meters to the southwest. The next day, many new sites were reported, but interestingly, the site to the north was no longer being supported. perhaps because rain leaked into the site, showing it was not such a good candidate after all. Over the next few days, many
Far away to
sites were
steal
investigated
mobile.
and reported, but interest in most of them eventually faded. Only one site, the one located 300 meters to the southeast, held the bees' interest the entire time. By the afternoon of the fourth day, the bees dancing in support of the southeast site completely dominated, with 61 bees dancing for it and only 2 bees holding out for other sites. The next morning, the decision was unanimous. The swarm then launched into flight, flew 300 meters to the southeast,
they be doing shit
and took up
democratically.
residence in the wall of an abandoned building. By analyzing bee debates like this, the key features of the bees' decision-making process becomes clear. The debate first starts with an information-gathering phase, where many alternatives are put on the table for discussion. The debate then progresses with all or almost all the bees advocating for just one site, indicating that a consensus has been reached. And during all of this, the process is highly distinct,
Socialist bees,
involving
brother.
dozens or even hundreds of individuals, all the hallmarks of a democratic process. The dances they perform are complex and indicate a lot of cognitive ability. The bees have to remember the location of the resource or the nest site, as well as the location of the sun. and
Bees are
translate
better
that
than people.
information into the characteristics of the dance. The bees in the audience then have to read this behavior and translate it into the direction that they will then follow. This, along with the coordinated decision to fly off in the same direction at the same time, supports the idea that a bee swarm acts as if it's one organism, a superorganism. And recently, scientists have realized it's even more profound than that. The way bees work together is a lot like how the individual neurons in the human brain work together, and studying their behavior may give insight into our own minds.
Oh shit.
Psychophysical laws explain the relation between real-world stimuli and the perception of those stimuli. The brains of many organisms follow these laws, even quite simple ones. Weber's law states that the change in a stimulus that will be just noticeable is a constant ratio of the original stimulus. For example, it might take 4 pounds before you notice your backpack getting heavier if your backpack was already loaded with heavy books. Hicks' law says that the brain is slower to make decisions when the number of alternative options increases. And Pierron's law says that the brain is quicker to make decisions when the options to decide from are of high quality. These laws help relate the brain's perception of reality to actual reality, and are important when making decisions. Many organisms adhere to these laws, even simple animals like fish or insects. Fish, for example, can differentiate between a large school of fish and a small one, opting to join the larger one, as long as the size difference was large enough for them to be able to recognize it. But do these laws only explain an individual's brain and behavior? Could these laws also apply to an entire colony of bees as one unit? In 2018, scientists started to get their answer. They analyzed how quickly the colonies made decisions between sites of varying qualities and compared the data with several psychophysical laws to see how well the laws were adhered to. And it turns out the bee colony followed the laws closely. It followed Weber's law in that the bees were able to choose the higher quality nest site if and when the higher quality, such as a larger size, exceeded the minimum noticeable difference. They also found that the bee colony was slower to make decisions when the number of alternative nest sites increased, and that the colony was quicker to make a decision between 2 high-quality nest sites compared to 2 low-quality nest sites. Honeybee colonies adhere to the same laws as the brain when making collective decisions. These findings give more support for the idea that bee colonies exist as superorganisms, operating in the world much like a single, complete organism would. And just as the bee colony is similar to a whole brain, the individual bee thus acts like a single neuron. In the human brain, decisions are made when single nerves fire waves of electrochemical signals. In bee colonies, decisions are made when individual bees communicate their discoveries through a visual display to other bees. And if bees follow the same laws as neurons, then observing them can lead to a better understanding of our own minds, and more quickly too. Observing bee colonies is much easier than trying to observe the neurons of a brain while a human makes decisions. By understanding these parallels, we can start to learn just how psychophysical laws work. And with more data, bees could teach us how our entire psychology arises from a few chemical actions from a few connected cells. And outside understanding our own minds, computer scientists have created lots of different algorithms based on bees' decision-making methods. One popular decision-making model is the artificial
They got
bee
little
colony,
jerseys.
or ABC algorithm. It's used for optimizing problems.
Where's the
where
Kobe
users are looking
bee?
for the best possible solution among many different options.
I'm about to go back and see where
In this
Kobe
model,
is.
Algorithm cells. And outside understanding our human makes decisions. By understanding them can lead to a better understanding of our own minds, and more quickly too. Observing bee colonies is much easier than trying to observe the neurons of the brain while a human makes decisions. By understanding these parallels, we can start to learn just how psychophysical laws work. And with more data, bees could teach us how our entire psychology arises from a few chemical actions from a few connected cells. And outside understanding our own minds, computer scientists have created lots of different algorithms based on bees' decision-making methods.
I don't think Kobe's in there. I thought that. Oh, it might be. If that was 24 right there. I see 22, I think. I think that's 22 or 32. I don't know.
One popular decision-making
there's 24. Yo, it's Kobe.
Model is the artificial bee colony, or ABC algorithm. It's used for optimizing problems.
Have a good night then, Twilight.
The best possible solution among many different options.
I'm probably gonna call it soon as well,
model,
honestly.
Each candidate
I'm pretty
solution
tired.
is like a food source, and the quality of that solution is akin to the amount of nectar it holds.
It's the real
It begins
Kobe.
with a number of employed bees at each of the food sources. They then go out to neighboring food sources and compare the amount of nectar to the previous source.
Yo, Kobe, like bees legit. Bees literally just chill. They all can, like, collectively together are like, yo, let's get this bread. And they're like, yeah, that sounds chill. We can just go ahead and get this bread. And then they all just do that. And then when they're not getting the bread, they're just chilling. Just post it up. And as long as you don't fuck with them, they won't have to all sting you at the same time and kill you. The bees are unionized. This is facts. The bees are 1000% unionized.
They only remember the information of the best food source they find. After a certain number of steps, they share their information with onlooker bees, who then choose what they think is the best food source, and the sources that aren't selected are abandoned. This continues until the best food source or solution is identified. This algorithm has been used to solve many real-world engineering problems across a variety of fields. For instance, electrical engineers have used it to determine the optimal position of solar panels for when they are in partial shade. Aerospace engineers have used it to plan the re-entry trajectory of hypersonic vehicles. And computer scientists have used it to plan the path of robots, proving the true power of the hive mind. The intersection of biology and computer science is an exciting one, as the different ways we can solve real-world problems with solutions that nature has already made are basically infinite. Algorithms are at the heart of this, and while they seem complicated, are easier to wrap your head around than you might realize. If you've ever been put off by opaque coding language, but really want to learn how algorithms work, or even start making your own, you should sign up for Brilliant. Brilliant can help you learn how to program without having to dig through the weeds of coding syntax through these fun, interactive challenges. You just shift around these blocks of pseudocode, and then you can get immediate feedback on your results. It's a good way to understand how computer algorithms work, and then once you have that down, the coding syntax becomes a lot less intimidating. I don't have a computer science background at all, but lately it's become more and more important for me to understand it when making these videos, as it's a topic that keeps coming up. Brilliant's Algorithm Fundamentals course has helped me learn that algorithms really are just a set of instructions, and putting them together to get the computer to do what you want is like a really fun puzzle. If you'd like to try out Brilliant for free and get 20% off a year of STEM learning, Click the link in the description down below or visit brilliant.org/realscience. As always, thanks for watching, and if you're looking for something else to watch right now, you can watch our previous video, The Insane Biology of Dragonflies, or Real Engineering's latest video that debunks a popular and mysterious image of airplanes that has been circulating the internet for years.
Wild. I be giving lessons on here. I got the lessons. I just stay with the lessons. Ugh. Damn, that was 16 whole ass minutes. We can watch a video on the 3D printer I got if you guys want. That dude you banned, he definitely got a lesson. He learned that he can joke if he wants, just not in this stream. You know who else learned a lesson? Ashli Babbitt. She fucked around and then subsequently found out. And she took that knowledge with her into the great ever after. So like how Ashli Babbitt learned a lesson. All right, let's watch Uncle Jesse. Uncle Jesse has some good things to say.
Hey everyone, Uncle Jesse here. This is the Anycubic Mono X. It is a 4K mid-size mono-screen sporting resin 3D printer. That means it's going to print really fast at really fine details. And today we're going to be doing a full-on
My man
review
printed the
of this
Heisman.
machine to find out if it is the new king of all the mid-size
He
resin
printed the
3D
Big
printers.
Monk.
And yes, that was my feeble attempt at today's video sponsor, which is none other than Nico Industries. Nico Industries is the producer and maker of some fine 3D printing files that you can download and print on a machine like the Anycubic Mono X here. Today I've run off and 3D printed his King Kong versus Godzilla files that are broken up into multiple pieces that are easily printable on a variety of different machines. And not only that, Nico also has
The
a
Sub-Zero
variety of cosplay
mask.
files that you can run off and 3D print as well. A huge thank you to Nico for sponsoring today's video. If you're interested in printing any of his files from his website, you'll find links down below, and make sure to use the code UJ to save about 15% off your order. So this is the Anycubic Mono X. It is a 4K mid-size resin 3D printer with a mono screen. Again, this thing can print really fast, and that screen should last you a really long time. And a fun little note, I have not removed the plastic wrap on the acrylic case here. I'm trying my best not to junk up one of these cases. I always end up getting resin fingerprints all over these things. This thing is pretty impressive. It has a build volume of 192 by 120 by 245. That's pretty impressive. It's got the same overall length and width of the Elegoo Saturn, but it's 45 millimeters taller, which means you're going to be able to get a little bit more prints out of this unit over the Saturn. And it's sporting the same type of 8.9 inch 4K mono screen display. Means again, you're going to get really great print results off of whatever you're printing with this machine. Let me throw on some gloves real quick. My printer is not super clean and I don't want resin on my hands. This does support an LED matrix array that you see on a lot of the newer resin 3D printers out there.
Put the LED
this is
matrix.
A nice upgrade from anyone that was previously coming from an Anycubic Photon, which is just that single display source. Next, let's talk about this angled build plate.
I'll show you the
Yes,
resin
it
fit
is
helmet.
angled and it's all metal. And it
Look at the
comes
Stormtrooper
pretty
helmet.
sanded, so it should help with that adhesion. I've had literally 0 issues with prints sticking and staying stuck to the build plate here when I run any of these prints. Had 0 fails over the past handful of prints that I was been running with this machine so far. I also want to mention that the build plate leveling is a lot easier, and it's a really nice improvement from the Anycubic Photon. The Photon was one of my first, if not my first, resin 3D printer, and it continues to be an absolute pain to keep level. I would do a print or two and then need to re-level because I'd end up with a print failure. There is a method out there called the Flint Reed method that works great for the Photon, but you really don't need to do any of that anymore. This has 4 bolts on it, which is really great for, again, that leveling process where it's instead of the ball hinge design that you see on some of the other machines that are out there, this just really prevents it from having any of the excess wiggle in either direction, and you only have to worry about the lift of the build plate. So the leveling process is really straightforward and simple, and once I've got it leveled, I really don't see me having to re-level this very often. I will say the one negative about this build plate though is that it does have a really big flat spot here opening in the center where I catch a lot of resin, and after I'm done with a print it's still pooled up there, so I have to remove this out or else I'm going to get some spillage. This build plate's also buckled down by the large bolt on top that's easy to take on and off to get that build plate in and out. Next up, let's talk about this all metal vat. That's right, it's all metal. It does have a max fill indicator on this. I actually have this installed backwards. The marker should be on the back here so I can see it when I'm pouring resin in. Also, these large bolts are really easy to work with to get the vat secured or to remove so that you can take the vat out of the printer. It also has little handles on the side, which is fantastic, which makes it, again, easy to handle, and there's a little pour spout on the front that makes it easy to dump all of your resin.
That's going to be clutch.
One additional great feature with this vat is that it has 4 little feet on the bottom, which is great if you need to take the vat out and sit it down on a surface like my table here, and I don't have to worry about the FEP sheet getting in contact with anything on the table, or maybe I'm setting this down on a piece of paper and there was accidentally some resin on there and I have to worry about getting resin on the underside of the FEP sheet. It's this whole thing that you have to deal with when working with resin printers, and this helps alleviate that. Those little feet also make it really easy to align the vat back on the printer when you're trying to put it back on. It also has a pretty standard touchscreen interface on the unit where you can go through and pick your files that you want to print. It's going to display the picture of the file before you run off and print it. You also have basic controls in here to be able to auto home or move the build plate up and down or run an exposure test. One really cool thing about this as well is it does have a setting that I haven't enabled here. I don't find it super useful, but it's, again, something different is that there is the ability to pause your print as soon as you remove this acrylic top. I have mine disabled by default, and it comes disabled by default, but you can enable that, and if you're printing and remove the acrylic top, it'll pause your print. It's kind of a cool, maybe a safety feature. I'm not
Yeah, it kind of makes sense to make sure your resin's not, you know what I mean?
So this printer
Light's
also
not hitting
supports
it.
wireless capabilities, and the reason why I put that in quotes there is just because I have not been able to get to this work. I've tried a number of different things to get this to connect to my home network. I've created a guest network with a really streamlined setup, and I still can't get it to connect to
I hope
my
they
home
fix
network
that.
here. Maybe it's my Orbi system, and it just doesn't like it whatsoever. But everything that I've heard online is, you know, it's not that useful. It allows you to monitor prints from your phone, and then you can start prints from your phone. It's not like you're going to be sending files from your phones to print on the printer, so it's not entirely useful. Maybe if I was able to directly from Lychee or Lychee or Chitu Box and directly, you know, slice a file and send it to the printer, that would be more useful. Or if something like Frozen has, where they have a web interface where I can directly upload a file that I've sliced and send it to the printer, that would be pretty cool. Maybe that's there, and I just, again, haven't fully had a chance to play around with it since I haven't been able to get it to connect to my home network. The printer also has dual linear rails, which allow it to have a really stable printing process for your larger prints, which again is a nice upgrade for anybody coming from the Anycubic Photon. I also think it has a really nice look to it with this black and all metal design. It gives it that really nice industrial look and feel to it. Before we talk about the prints that I was able to get off the machine, I do want to mention that the assembly of the unit is super simple and the packing was fantastic. Had no issues unboxing and getting this thing set up. With these resin printers, you can literally take them out of the box, plug them in, pour in some resin, and for the most part, assuming that you get it leveled right off the bat, you can start printing within a very short amount of time. All right, the first thing that I went off and printed was the test file that came with the machine. This is the standard Anycubic cube here that has lots of little fun details that are printing support.
His Magneto helmet, this dude's helmets,
it came out great.
I'll show you some of his helmets.
Today were printed in Ceartex fast resin. I just have a lot of that on hand. The machine does not come with any resin, so you want to make sure to order some in advance before purchasing this. So let's talk about Nico Industries King Kong vs. Godzilla files that I printed here on the Mono X. I ended up slicing pretty much all the files in Chi2 box. I didn't end up using lychee or lychee, however you want to pronounce that. Yeah, I think the results of this were pretty spot on. Great here. These files are in multiple pieces, and I went off and assembled everything and ended up spray painting them just so you could see a little bit more of the detail on the prints here. One thing that I did end up screwing up is that I used the initial wrong support settings, and I did some, I think it was my Phenom support settings on this, and I was not able to remove the supports off of some of these prints. It was just not coming loose. So I ended up reprinting a number of the parts there, and everything came out great afterwards. Next up, I printed one of Sid's bus. This is Walter White from Break. That's a good way to break.
He broke the shit.
I just shattered
and he broke it
when dropping it. And that's the fun you have when printing and working with resin. So this is Walter
the wisdom
White
cube
from Breaking Bad. Again, I wanted to print something that would really show off some of the fine details that you can get from this machine.
He has glasses too.
These models all have
he fucked them up trying to get them off the bed.
And this turned out beautifully, other than me just breaking the hat here, which is not what that's supposed to look like. He also did have glasses, but I unfortunately, when trying to remove the supports, I just tore right into the glasses.
Why would you not just use nippers?
Removing the supports on the glasses here just caused all sorts of issues with that one.
That's so silly.
It still looks pretty good without the hat and without the glasses. Next up is a Court of Owls mask. If you are a Batman fan, you'll probably be familiar with Court of Owls. This was an amazing storyline that came out, oh my god, 10 years ago now. But I ended up modeling this in Blender. That's right, I designed this myself in Blender and decided to run off and finally print it here on the Mono X. Printed it all in one piece, and I think it came out pretty good. I still need to run off and paint this, and I still need to design some hooks on the back side of this so that I can put some straps on there so that I can actually wear it on my face.
It's cool you can print a whole mask like that. I can print the whole demon's mask.
Paint it as well. Having resin, even when cured, directly on your skin probably isn't the best idea, even if you're planning on wearing this for a short amount of time. So yeah, this thing should be pretty good for cosplay prints. And finally, I wanted to see how some miniatures would print on this. So I wanted to see a full build plate of miniatures, how that would print on this machine, since I know a lot of you out there are considering this machine, or have even picked one up already, simply for its ability to print miniatures very quickly and at, again, great detail. These are all files from Loot Studios. This is a relatively new company that I've just recently found out about. They're not new, but thanks to 3D Print Farm and a video that he recently did, found out about them, and for $15 a month, you get a stupid amount of files. I ended up buying a past collection of their files as well, and they're all pre-supported and come in 2 different sizes. 32mm and 75mm sizes here, which are perfect for anybody out there looking to play with those different campaigns that might be associated to...
Those are crazy detailed.
I also wanted to print some of the larger versions of the files, and I have to say I am not disappointed whatsoever, especially this int tree character. I will for sure be printing.
I'm really excited to get this printer,
scale that's
or
available
to
multiple pieces.
Rather, I'm really excited to open this printer and print with it.
Upcoming project build, and I might end up painting him as well. Hoping to start doing some live streaming with painting some of the things that I printed here. That could be fun. So
would you guys be into that if I did that?
It's
If I printed
great,
shit
I'm
and
really
painted
happy
it
to
on
see that.
stream?
But the one thing that I haven't talked about yet is the price point. And it's under $1,000, which is
Printed
fantastic.
dad.
Again, this technology is evolving and it's getting better and better, and the price is continually getting lower and lower, which is great for us out there, the consumers. So what you're going to end up paying for this unit, if you buy this over on Amazon, it's on sale right now for $800.
I did not pay that much money for that printer. I'll tell you that. Show you some of the other. This was pretty cool.
Let's take a look at this amazing Raven Skull resin 3D print that I made on the Elgoose Saturn. First, I mixed together some translucent and red resin together. Then I added in a little bit of this neon green resin. Make sure to shake and bake thoroughly before printing. Pour it on in and fill up the vat. Now let's watch the magic happen. Man, oh man, do I love the Elgoose Saturn. Once the print's finished, it's time to pop it off the build plate. Oh look, and the model's already hollowed. Now it's time to clean up the excess resin. I'm using the Anycubic Wash and Cure Plus. Once it's clean, make sure it's thoroughly drained. Once the print's dried, it's time for a little bit of clear coat. And here's the result of our resin 3D print. You can find this file and more over at Luby3D's Patreon page.
That's so
Make sure
tough
to
looking.
subscribe for more amazing resin 3D printing videos.
I can't wait to print some shit like that.
Now what you might not
It's like, no, I'll watch that later. I should probably just end the stream. It's all good, Nay Bume. I appreciate you chilling here, though. The 3D printed donut, I'll eat it. I don't think I would eat a 3D printed donut. Uh-oh, the canceled Doom time lapse. Let's check it out. I'm gonna mute just in case I'm gonna get blamed for that music. It's wild. It doesn't really. It looks like Jim Carrey. I don't know about that one. Yeah, alright. Rest in peace. This one's tough.
Hey everyone, Uncle Jesse here. This is a quick look at one of many prints from this Sunday's upcoming video. Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom by Eastman.
Jolly Rancher
Let's
resin.
flex this print off the build plate. Let's get it cleaned up and then ready to remove those supports. Time to cure it under UV lights. If you're interested in printing this Dr. Doom bust, make sure to join Eastman's Patreon, and I'll have a full video up on this print and a lot of other cool files in this Sunday's video.
That one looks tough. Trypophobia, yeah. It's low-key ASMR, but at the same time, having to watch it, it's just like, nah, I don't know about that one. This is the resin I have, I think. Thank you for the follow. ASMR is such a fine line, it is. I just like that resin.
Translucent resin here for today's video. You'll find links down below where you can find more details.
Print a legendary engram with the purple resin? Bet. You want one?
Today we're 3D printing Baron Zemo's mask from Falcon in the Winter.
That opens up
This is
to
a
reveal a
full-size
green.
file that you
That's
can download
funny.
and print from 3D printed props. I printed this at 40% scale on the Elgu Mars 2 Pro in Shine Sing purple resin. After getting the print cleaned up, I added a little bit of weathering to it with some Citadel paints. And here is the finished piece. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for more and let me know down in the comments what you think I should print next.
It's pretty tough. This is the Mando helmet.
Something a little bit different, and I might still end up using super glue as an initial bonding agent. But what we're going to do today, so it's really not going to be too much of a process to clean up any drippage or anything like that that might have overspilled on those seams. And I should also mention
You just print it in more than one piece and then like basically JB weld them together. Then you sand and paint that bitch. But it's not even really J&B weld because you just put more resin on there and use the...
Very excited about this, and I can't try it on yet. I need to make sure it's fully cured, so I'm going to stick it in my UV bucket for a little while. I did apply an extra coating on the inside and make sure that that was cured. I just really wanted to make sure all of the seams were as solid as humanly possible. I am noticing that the front is warping slightly inward, so what I'm going to do is just use some of this foam here, cut some slices off to space it out so it's pushing it out a little bit for the actual UV bucket curing process there. That way it's hopefully not deformed when I take it out for later on in the project, and if it is, I'll have to figure out some other solution for this.
Edible prints, that sounds wild. I was interested in seeing if this resin, if you can make food safe prints with the resin, because I know you can't with the FDM printer.
All right, and here we go. I have a fully assembled Mandalorian helmet that I printed in multiple pieces on the Elgu Saturn and the Elgu Mars 2 Pro. The
Elgu Saturn is the same build plate size as the printer I just got.
For sure, there's a good bit of cleanup that I'm going to have to do on this still. So I still need to do the back panel here. The back vents just came out. I still need to do a lot of sanding and filing down where all of the seams are to help hide where the seams were. I still need to
It looks like Mike Cernovich.
Right now, the little ear pieces here are not quite fitting correctly, so I'm going to either have to completely cut out this and insert these in, or maybe I'll try and sand it smooth. We'll see. One thing that I am happy how the front turned out is I was a little bit nervous when I put the foam inserts in there that this was going to space out too much. Thankfully, I was able to reshape that a good bit. But one thing that
you could probably 3D print Mike Cernovich.
That one of the panels, I don't think I scaled it correctly because it looks like it's slightly larger than the other. So what I'm going to do is run off and reprint this.
This is cool.
And by the way, congrats on just
look at that build plate. It's like a $3,000 printer though. I'm not ready for all that yet.
If I go like vertical to horizontal here, it's just hangs over slightly, but I could probably get about 2.5 of these X10 build plates in here. Here's the Phenom to the Phenom. So here's the standard
3D print new bodies.
Here you can just get a quick visual comparison of the actual size differences there. And also I just want to show you quickly the Transform to the Phenom L. Just to show you, I mean, the Transform previously was the largest resin printer that I had. It beat out the standard Phenom by a bit. The Phenom L just, it's a big jump between the two build volumes. I also wanted to talk with you about this big, beautiful, heavy-duty vat here. This can easily store 2 of these big bottles of resin, and I mean easily. And depending on some of the prints that you're going to be running, you might end up having to refill this as well. And again, for a quick comparison, here is the standard Phenom, and here's the Phenom L that you can see side by side just how much bigger the vats are. And if you're thinking about upgrading from the Photon, Anycubic Photon to this, yeah, it's... Another thing I wanted to mention is that when you slide the vat into the printer, it's going to basically stop it where it needs to be, and then you can just screw it down. You don't have to worry about fully removing the screws and taking those out in order to get the vat out, something that I really like.
Just 3D print a bigger tray.
Those screws into the vat.
The build plate is what matters.
Holes in the FEP sheets.
And the LED screen.
All right, so let's talk about some of these prints already. Enough about the machine. You all know it's a big machine. It prints really big, has a huge build volume. Let's talk about some of the things that I printed on it. The very first thing I printed was this test file. I unfortunately don't have that still. I think I might have tossed it by accident. But I really had, like, from the get-go, 0 issues getting my prints up and running with this machine. So it worked really great for me.
That's a human. It's a 3D printer that 3D prints other 3D printers.
That print volume there, or at least the build plate, and get as many things on that build plate.
He made the whole Bat family's masks right there.
Masks from Villainous Props. These are a whole bunch of different, I think they're called domino masks. They're eye masks that you can print and cosplay wear. All of them printed pretty good. I think I had one that had some issues with the supports not adhering. This was prior to me really further refining my support settings for this particular machine. I still haven't gone through and updated my support settings based on 3D Printing Pro and some of the stuff that I've learned from that just yet. But here's an example. You'll see where the supports failed in certain areas and it lifted in one of the corners for the masks. Other masks printed just great. Like here is I think this is a Red Hood mask. And I mean, God, these things just turned out so nice. So nice. I think in the past, I printed one of these in resin before and I was able to print one. And it was this one. Not this specific one, but the same file on one of the resin printers.
That one's tough.
Mars or something like that. So being able to print 5 at one time just is really wild. So it took about 15 to 16 hours to print all of these masks at once at 0.05 layer height, which is super fine compared to anything that I was able to print on
the Red Hood
printers. And the other knock-on benefit I'm seeing of this is
the Robin
time reduction. I mean, forget about how smooth these are right off the print bed, and it's going to cut down on the post-processing, but just being able to print things a lot faster than I was over on my FDM printers or over on multiple resin 3D printers is such a cool thing. So after printing those masks, I was really excited about the thought of printing a full-size helmet on this machine. So I went off and printed a Black Panther helmet all in one piece.
That's
this
tough
file's
looking.
from Nico Industries, and it's actually a 2-part helmet. There's the main helmet, and then there's the back side that you can magnetically attach here that's going to snap onto the back of the helmet. And this thing looks unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I have done literally zero sanding, and I've only applied one really light coat of automotive primer to this particular helmet just so it would show up a little bit better for you guys here in the video. And again, the results are just stunning. There's still some things that I'm going to have to really finely sand here, but this would have been weeks, and I mean weeks, of me sanding and filling and priming over on FDM print. It's just the results on this are incredible. I did end up getting one slight layer shift in this during the print. And again, I think this has to do with the print itself is pretty heavy. I hollowed it out where I could, but it's still the amount of resin to actually make this. It's got to be at least a pound here in terms of weight. So the supports that I had to run on this were pretty heavy duty, and I think it held in there pretty nicely. However, I probably could have done just a slightly better job to help prevent that one layer shift that I'm seeing right in the front. But again, the corrective process on this is going to be next to nothing in terms of sanding and slightly filling versus what I would have had to do over on an FDM print. The other amazing thing is that this main body portion of the helmet only took 30 hours to print.
What?
There is no way.
What?
No way this would have printed in anything.
That's crazy.
Probably 3 days or more on one of my, like a CR10 or something like that. So obviously, I mean, there's
just really quick. The reason why I haven't done the Demon's masks yet is because my printer is telling me one mask is going to take 5 days to print. And it was already crazy having to let my printer run for a day and a half to print the one that I already made that's too small to even fit over your face. So, yeah, that's the main reason I got a resin printer.
It's going to be a big price difference here between the cost of resin and the machine versus filament and the cost of a CR10.
3D printed
the
cups.
Results here are just absolutely mind-blowing. And technically, this is a print failure in my book because I scaled it slightly wrong. I was probably off by just a little bit there, my percentage-wise for scaling. When I put this on my 3D scan of my head, yeah, I can not fully get this on my head. I can't get it over my chin.
That
here.
sucks.
I'm going to have to remove the bottom portion here so that I can get my chin on. And then
that's smart, though. I should get a 3D scan of my head.
Of the chin piece here. I still had a little bit of wiggle room on the printer as well, which is what's killing me. I was just trying to scale this so it would be really nicely, snugly fit on my head. I didn't want to really...
Gray Fox helmet? I've seen that.
The Hasbro helmet that I have already. The next thing I went off and printed is this Sub-Zero mask from Lexter. He actually took this from one of his miniature files and scaled it up, and I think probably reworked it a bit.
I think he printed it in the clear black resin. I want the clear black resin too.
This was actually printed in Ceratec's new smoky black resin.
Yep.
And loving the actual look of this. It also got retweeted by Ed Boon from Mortal Kombat. That's freaking wild. I was very excited about that. But yeah, again, the results on this were really nice. Zero issues with this. Obviously, it was a much smaller print, but it only took 15 hours to print.
That's the noob Cybot mask.
A full build plate full of miniatures that I ran off and printed, and I mean, I really maximized the full build plate and printed a bunch of miniatures here. It's actually one miniature file in multiple pieces. I'll actually be doing a full rundown of this particular print. I'm really excited about this one, and it truly is a monster print. The thing I wanted to call out with that specifically is, again, if you're in the business of making and printing miniatures, that might be another use case for you because you can print a lot, and I mean a ton of miniatures on this machine all at one time, and especially the case that the miniatures typically aren't that large. This was probably a little bit bigger than your average miniature print that you're going to run off and do. So you're going to have really fast print time.
No, this printer that he's talking about in this video is like $3,000. And the printer I just got, all told, I spent less than $1,000 for the printer, the wash and cure station, and all 5 of these resin bottles that I have sitting underneath of my legs right now. Less than $1,000 to get me started and keep me going for at least the next year. Your car is worth less than $3,000? Yikes! Sorry to hear that. To look at my printer, yeah, for sure. Hang on. See if I can find a short video. He said it was the king of all 3D resin 3D printers 6 months ago. So print the car? Yeah, just print the car. I can't find anything quick, so I'll just drop the Amazon link in chat. I'll show you some more Uncle Jesse stuff, and I'm probably going to go to bed, and it's midnight already now. No, I'm gonna, like I said, I haven't even opened it yet. Like, I just got it Amazon today. I haven't even opened the shipping packaging because I'm gonna do an unboxing video, and then I'm gonna do a time lapse on my first print on it. That's funny, Big Richie Lizzie. But anyway, if you would like me to perhaps mail you some miniatures. Unbox it and 3D print a new box. All right, bet. That's what I'm gonna do. .3D printed belt. This is getting a little ridiculous now. He 3D printed a sauce holder for his car. Genius. Absolutely genius.
What's going on, you guys? Uncle Jesse here. In today's video, I want to talk to you about the pros and cons of printing your helmet.
Make a reboxing video
versus upside down. Let's check it out.
3D print $7,000 and sell it for $7,000. Then would I have $14,000 or $21,000?
So this has been a video that I have been meaning to make, and actually have made probably 3, 4, 5 iterations of this, and I've just not really liked any of them. So I'm making
the LEDs and the Black Panther helmet in the background are tough.
Talk about this when I made my M'Baku mask, which if you haven't watched, you really should check it out. I think it's going to be in one of these corners up here. I'll link to it. Definitely check that out. But that was really the first time that I've gone off and printed a helmet right side up using custom supports. It's not just the custom supports that you can do within Simplify 3D, but it's sort of taking that to the next level with an internal support structure that you then place your supports on top of. Now, before I really jump into all of this, I should preface that this is really specific to Simplify 3D slicer users. I don't know if you can do this in Cura. I don't really use Cura or any other software. I really just stick to Simplify 3D. This is a method I saw someone share over in the 3D printed armor and weapons props Facebook group, which if you haven't already, I'll have links down below. Nico runs that show, and it's an absolutely awesome Facebook group of just really talented people printing some ridiculously cool cosplay things like helmets and armor and all sorts of crazy stuff. So check that out. Now, upside down is typically the method that I have used up until, just recently, where you print a helmet upside down. This minimizes the amount of supports you're going to need. It minimizes the amount of filament that you're going to use, and the amount of time that it's going to take to print the actual file. That all sounds absolutely awesome. What's not awesome about that is the end result of you having to clean the top portion of your print. This is typically the helmet or the mask or whatever it may be. You end up having to do a lot of filling and sanding and post-processing work to get that smoothed out. So here was a test print. It wasn't really intended to be a test print, but ended up being a test print of the M'Baku mask. So how this ends up working is you're going to position your mask or helmet or whatever it is that you're looking to print vertically like you would intend on wearing it, and then start applying supports. Then what you're going to end up doing is applying an internal structure. Personal preference again. I like this method with the internal larger supports.
Damn, is that a fucking Venom mask or a Carnage mask? That's tough.
Supports inside of the helmet.
I just wanted to see the Magneto helmet, honestly. I'm good on the rest of this.
By the way, these things were popping into town. Yes. So what?
I just wanted to see this Red Hood mask.
I brought the Red Hood helmet with me that I put together from one of Clonius's files. He's got a bunch of them, and I just dug this one, just the shape of it.
so
And-
ridiculously cool. It is ridiculously cool. You did an awesome job weathering this, by the way.
It was, it's something that I always, people don't know a lot of times with printing. They expect to get this amazing thing. They say, how did you make it so shiny? How did you make it so smooth? And it's just, I'm telling you, a sanding and sanding.
And more sanding.
And more sanding. And then I used, first time ever, Bondo.
That's all you if you don't got sound.
Bondo work, which I'd never done before. I got some tips from my dad, who'd done a lot of Bondo.
Yep.
And I think one of the key things were to wash it with soap and water after I sand it after each time.
Excellent.
Before I put a new coat.
Were you using the spot filler or were you using like the big tub of Bondo?
I had the big tub of Bondo to start because this was all gooed up because of the
praying upside
supports.
down. Yeah.
And then I did use the spot for some things. And then I got, if you watch the video, there's of course a video.
I'll be linking to this, by the way.
I got a little crazy with the spot Bondo where I was like putting it on with like a scalpel.
Okay. Very precise. Very precise. I noticed that you have some awesome for the eyes, which you can actually see through.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking pattern on there. What the heck is that? What did you use for the eyes?
They're these little LED panels, and so if you see in here, they're these panels, plastic, and the little mesh I think helps the light go through it or whatnot. And then there's a little LED right in the corner, like in the plastic, and that's what makes it glow like that. Oh. And they just come with that. And I got them on eBay. There's a link over in the video that I did for this, and they're from Adafruit.
Oh, very cool.
Okay. I don't think that's where this guy's getting them because when he's selling them, they're cheaper than Adafruit's, and they come wired.
Yep.
So
I see that you have a battery. What kind of battery are you running on that?
Just a 9-volt, and due to the size, how the sort of the nose part juts out.
That's so tough.
Yeah, I love that.
So much.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I have yet to do any cool light up effects in any of the props that I'm doing, and I seriously have to do that.
I've really had to learn because I've never really done a lot of, I've done some wiring in the house and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like, you get the LEDs there and you put a battery on it and it goes, and you're like, oh, that needed a resistor. I'm throwing LEDs out like that.
So I see you also put some foam paneling in here.
Yeah, because then you get the bobblehead.
Yep.
If you don't put the foam in, and like a lot of my helmets, if you watch any of my videos, I print them and I do a test. You've got that great test how to make a test one, and I did it with this. But the problem is that stuff's thin.
Right.
So it must have.
And this is a one piece helmet. Unlike
That
a
is
lot
one.
of the other Red Hood or even just other helmets in general, a lot of them have a panel on the back that you can remove to get your head in. So you had to scale this large enough to actually get your bucket in. Oh man, this is so cool.
Yeah. And it didn't fit at first.
You can actually see through this as well
You
with
see
the lights on.
fairly well, yeah.
This would be very con.
In a con, you could see probably even better to be a little darker in the hall or whatnot.
Exactly.
And it'd be fine. I've tried it in a bright room. It's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. And you did the full on cosplay.
I did.
That's so tough.
I've gone to conventions forever.
Yeah.
But I've never dressed up. I haven't.
That
actually
is so
wanted to
tough.
do A show. I plan on it at some point this summer. But yeah, I got the coat and the
One Piece.
leg things, whatever. Whole thing. Made the guns. And chest plate was Colonius's too.
It was very cool, by the way.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. And dressed up. Did the whole dress up.
It's pretty impressive. I'm gonna have links down in the description down below so you can check out his channel and this video as well. So what are you working on now?
I've got a bunch of things on the bench. I'm working on a lot of Fortnite stuff.
Nice.
Because my son got me into it.
Yep, and that's where we end the video. So, I guess that was it. I'm really excited to print this stuff and see how it works out and show you guys the prints and, see how that works out. GunTube Friday? Alright, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. He printed Pickle Rick, a huge Pickle Rick. That's a big, thick Pickle Rick. Look at his Deathstroke mask.
masks, and I highly recommend you guys checking him out and following him. I've got links to his social media.
3D
as
print
well.
some thick
Stay
cheeks
tuned
for
over the
your
next coming
Solid Snake
days or maybe
cosplay.
week,
Wow.
and I'll be posting some progress updates on this particular build and showing you how I finish it off, including having a carbon filter effect on one half of the mask. Very, very excited to try that out and see how it works.
Ooh, I forgot you could do that. I forgot you could print carbon fiber with FDM printer too. I still have to try that out. Yeah, the Deathstroke mask. Ooh, you can print the wing. He printed the wingman. Pull out my wingman like Mike Bingman. Shout out to Mike Bingman. Shout out Bing Gaming.
And this stuff's in particular order. It has these components that you can just connect everything up, and it basically snaps together. And then you can choose whether or not you want to completely seal it or not. Since I'm still sort of painting this a bit, I figured I will not completely seal it just yet. And what I wanted to do, and what I want to show you guys is... So
pull out the wingman like Mike Bingman.
And I'm not sure if it's going to pick it up that well on the camera, but I've decided to start trying to grime up the silver a bit and start adding a few highlights here on the black sections. And basically what I'm doing is just taking a dry paintbrush that I have some black paint, and then I'm applying it into some of these crevices on the silver areas, and then as soon as I apply it,
yeah, like an
wipe it
Apex.
dry. Again, there's lots of tutorials online on how to do this. I actually showed this in
You can 3D print the lid attachments.
Agamotto, I still don't know how to pronounce that video, but I figure I would just reiterate that here for you guys, where you can see that here I'm going over, there's these little bolts pieces, and then I'll just kind of grime it up a bit, and then take my paper towel and just wipe it away. And it leaves a bit of residue there. So you can see here is a completely clean side where it's really bright and silvery. Looks like a brand new Wingman pistol.
Wingman.
On this side, it's grimed
The
up.
Wingman.
It looks like it's been in use a good bit. And I always
It's the
prefer
Wingman.
battle damage over completely pristine in any of the props that I create. Also, what's nice with the change of pace here for this particular gun for me is that I'm not really doing any sanding on the outside. I did a lot of sanding on the connecting section so that it fit nice and flush together when I glued everything. But normally on the outside, I'm typically taking Bondo. Really nice. It gave it a slightly darker tone, which I was going for. I didn't want it to be too dark. I didn't want it to be as light as it was when it first printed. It's very easy to sand as well, and it has a very nice texture to it. I also originally planned to just print this and glue it all together and do it basically as that. No post-finishing work whatsoever. However, as I get into it, I figured I'd just apply a little bit of grime to this, do a little bit of painting to make things pop a bit, and I'm very happy with how this turned out without having to go
He's got Kobe's. He
is
printed the
art grenade from
Kobe.
Titanfall, and it's a super simple print for you to work with. It just comes in a few different pieces there and a whole bunch of these little nubs that fit beautifully inside of this. There's really almost no finishing work that I've done on this other than gluing everything together. I'm still not sure if I'm actually going to paint this or not. I actually like this purple-ish, blue-ish PLA that I used from Hatchbox for this particular prop here. Also, if you guys have not already, make sure to check out Titanfall 2. That game is absolutely wonderful. It was probably my biggest prints, removing all. Alright you guys, here it is, my 3D printed Banter shotgun from Gears of War. Juan Jose Garcia Gonzalez was able to create this file and share it with everybody over on My Mini Factory, and I've got a link for you down below where you can download and print your own version of this. This took me just under 2 days to print, if I remember correctly. So this also
actively works here. So you can almost cock the shotgun itself for the reload mechanism there. Again, I used the default files as is and was able to print this off, and it is just over 2 feet long. This thing is an absolute beast. The files really didn't need a whole lot of work at all. It's you print it and they basically snap together, or you glue them together where need be. I did do a little bit of sanding just to get the seams lined up very evenly, and then
3D print
this,
the popped Ashli Babbitt
and smooth it on out a little bit more. I'm not too worried about really making it very smooth. I will actually want some of the defects and some of the divots that are in here as of right now with my print, because it's from Gears of War, and this thing should have gone through many battles with the locusts and whatever those new creatures are in the upcoming Gears of War 4. And I actually want it to be a bit battle damaged.
Damn,
so
this is from
after that, I'm gonna go off
2016.
and paint it and get this thing all nice and metallic looking to give it an
It's printing time. But yeah, y'all. Thanks for watching, everyone. Oh, this is tough. We'll end it on this one.
With Adam Savage over at Tested, talking specifically about my building of this Magneto costume, and hopefully that's available and live here in one of these corners for you to actually go and check out if you haven't seen that already, or maybe you actually have already watched that video and have found
You're about to 3D print the Grumpy? Yeah, I 3D printed the Grumpy earlier.
this costume. But today what we're going to be focusing on here is this 3D printed Magneto helmet that I went off and made, and I absolutely love. So before I talk to you guys about the 3D printed Magneto helmet,
I'm gonna make one.
7 years. This is a helmet that I originally made as part of my original YouTube channel. I actually had another channel that I had started with where I was documenting my Pepakura journey, starting to make replica props using paper and Bondo and fiberglass, all sorts of craziness. And yeah, this is basically where it ended up, and I never ended up finishing it, sadly. And it weighs an absolute ton compared to my 3D version of the helmet. But it's really cool for me to see these side by side and just see how far technology and techniques have come. So I 3D printed this helmet actually about 2 years ago. I had Colonius over at Villainous Props design this file specifically for me based off of a whole bunch of Jim Lee style designs that I found online, where I really wanted a classic comic book style Magneto helmet. And yeah, I ended up printing this over on the CR10 using Ziltech filament, and then over the last handful of months decided, hey, you know what? New York Comic Con's rolling around and I need to finish this helmet. So I ended up using a lot of wood filler and primer and just sanding the living daylights out of this to get it as absolutely smooth as possible. And again, it was just a lot of going from 100 grit to 120 to 200, more primer, more sanding, more Bondo, spot putty I was using a lot of, more wood filler where needed at that point. I didn't end up using any XTC 3D on this helmet, and I actually regret that because I now have a gash on the side of the helmet where I was at New York Comic Con. I was holding the helmet and I almost dropped it, and one of the gauntlets that I was wearing, which is 3D printed, dug right into it as I tried to catch it. I also ended up incorporating magnets into the helmet, so before I got too far into the build, I ended up drilling out some holes in the helmet. I knew I wanted the crest to be removable and actually swappable. So that was a really good thing that I did that, because I ended up making 2 different crests for the con. The one that I wore for the majority of the show was actually a slightly different variation than the one that's on the helmet right now. And unfortunately, I had an accident where I was getting out of the taxi cab and I just knocked the helmet, I think, and I ended up shattering
Oh no!
the crest, I should say, into pieces. All of the crests were resin 3D printed as well. And I was really excited to incorporate resin 3D printing into this just because I've been doing so much of that and I'm loving the technology and the details that you can get out of it. And not to mention, I think I'm going to end up reprinting this helmet all in resin. So that'll be a really cool video that I'll be following up on as well. After I ended up just wet sanding and sanding the living daylights out of this helmet, I ended up applying some metal cast to this. So there's red metal cast and purple metal cast, and they have a base coat that you can lay down, which is this chrome metal cast paint that'll actually help prime it and give it that nice metallic base coating. One thing that I was not aware of is that I could have actually gone through and done all of those steps at one time. So I could have done the base chrome coating, then the red, and then actually clear coated this. And once that dried, taping off the actual details around the helmet, which I ended up doing, and then doing chrome, purple, and then clear coating. So I would have ended up saving a lot of time and steps if I would have known that and properly read the can and instructions online for Metalcast. So anybody that's looking to do this or use Metalcast products for one of their builds, you can pretty much apply those consecutively as long as you're giving the paint enough time to dry. Anybody that's interested in making your own Magneto helmet, if you're not planning on traveling with this, or you're not just trying to be slick and incorporate magnets into the actual crest itself, I would really recommend just welding the crest onto the helmet, because you're really at risk of this thing falling off or someone bumping into it and knocking it loose and it falling to the ground and breaking. And it's
Hit it with that JB weld.
Absolutely painful when that happens, but thankfully, again, I had a backup, a spare that I was able to jump in and put back on here and get back up play for a character component. So, hey, thanks again for watching, guys. I was able to wear at New York Comic Con a few weeks ago. What I'd like to do is give you guys a video breakdown of each of the costume components in its own standalone video. This way, it's not a huge, long, 30-minute video of me detailing out.
Alright, but yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. We're gonna just end it. I think I'm just gonna end it. Psych, I'll raid someone. Who will I raid? Yeah, y'all have a good night too, yo. I'll raid Chubby Waifu. She's on. Yeah, good night, y'all. I'm about to pass out like Ashli Babbitt, too.
Eddie Brock.
Hold up. I'm trying to see this fucking goofball ass ad that's gonna play before we get in here. About to sleep like you just hit a tree at 70 miles per hour? That's facts. Alright, y'all. Peace.